I was given a homework assignment by a fellow YouTube user, Proud American 8. He asked me to read the Anarcho-Capitalist FAQ and post a video response. Actually, the lesson has expanded quite a bit over the last few days. The last demand from my buddy, Proud American, was that I watch all anarcho-capitalist videos on YouTube. Sorry, Proud American, but I'm going to reserve my statements for the FAQ. Anarcho-capitalism, to me, is an oxymoron. Modern anarchy for the past 150 years has been a concerted class struggle against capitalism. It really is a strange concept. Let me start with what I like about the FAQ. Okay, I think that wraps up this segment. Now let's get on with what I really think about the FAQ. An FAQ, a frequently asked question, should, in my opinion, address typical questions that may arise. Now, of course, there's no single magic formula that's going to guarantee that every question gets answered, but an effort should be made. The question I don't feel was answered, and one that would occur to most every anarchist, is the following. Anarchy, prior to Rothbard's strange combination of anarchy and capitalism in 1949, has been opposed to capitalism, specifically the hierarchical structure and the exploitative nature of capitalism. How then do anarcho-capitalists see themselves as part of a tradition that has historically opposed the very things they believe in? If I were to tell you I'm a Capcom, that is, a capitalist communist, you'd think I was crazy. And yet anarchists and communists aren't that far apart. The problem between them arises from the question of how do we get there. But the opposition to capitalism is held in common. Anarchists participated in the Russian Revolution, they participated in the Cuban Revolution, and they've been involved in many other insurrections and revolutions around the world. Well, it's easy, I suppose, to criticize the FAQ for what it doesn't have. But what about the things that are actually there? Now, I don't have time to discuss all 20 questions, so I'm going to start from the beginning. The first one is simple. What is anarcho-capitalism? The answer given: anarcho-capitalism is the political philosophy and theory that 1. A state is an unnecessary evil and should be abolished, and 2. A free market, private property economic system is morally permissible. Part 1, we are told, is simply the definition of anarchism. The second part isn't so much a part of anarchism, but a morally permissible economic system. With part 1, we already have a problem. If you want to understand a complex social theory or ideology, you do not go to the dictionary. No dictionaries. Bear in mind that anarchy is one of the most maligned and misinterpreted political ideologies on the face of the planet. It is routinely claimed to mean violence, chaos, and lawlessness by our press. It's routinely ignored in political science classes across the country, and there's little hope that this bias is not going to pop up in dictionaries. I find a much better source, a much better way to understand what anarchy means, is to look at the word's etymology, its history. Anarchy essentially combines two words. An, meaning without, archy, meaning rulers. Anarchy. But anarcho-capitalists do use this etymology. In fact, it's used in the FAQ. So at this point, we're all in agreement, we think. But the state is not the only leader or ruler in our lives. There's a guy we call boss. There are capitalists who even Adam Smith referred to as masters. And let's not forget landlords. Now think about these terms for a minute. Master, boss, landlord, which literally is master of land. And anarcho-capitalists are not against any of these relationships or people at all. In fact, they're not concerned with equality or hierarchies at all. And here we come to an interesting line of thought. Take a look at the word hierarchy. Without any real digging, without any degree in etymology, you could probably see the word archy right in there. Hierarchy and archy. It's the same root, right? So let's take a closer look at hierarchy. Hierarchy essentially combines two words, higher and archy. Higher, meaning sacred. Archy, we've already talked about, meaning ruler. The sacred ruler. I've heard it discussed as the ladder of power. And I'm not going to get real technical here, but it's pretty clear that a consistent anarchist who truly believes in a world without rulers would also have to object to forms of hierarchy. You see, the problem in the FAQ's answer is it doesn't go far enough. Yes, all anarchists oppose the state, but that's merely a necessary condition, not a sufficient one. It's not enough to just oppose the state. To put it differently, all anarchists oppose the state, but opposition to the state does not automatically make one an anarchist. To be an anarchist, you must oppose the state for anarchist reasons and be opposed to all other forms of hierarchical structure. The state represents just one manifestation of that hierarchical authority. A true anarchist wants to root out all such manifestations because only then can we truly be free. To conclude, the FAQ is misleading at best. It misleads the reader into believing that somehow anarchists and capitalism can somehow be combined, completely ignoring anarchist opposition to capitalism. Even in its process of explaining anarchism, it misleads the reader by making the argument that opposition to the state is all there is to it. If we look at the works of Tucker, Kropotkin, Proudhon, and Bakunin, we discover that we can list one more belief that all anarchists hold. This is opposition to exploitation, to usury, that is profits, interest, and rent. For example, Tucker argued that liberty insists on the abolition of the state and the abolition of usury, on no more governments of man by man and no more exploitation of man by man. Such a position is one that Proudhon, Bakunin, and Kropotkin would agree with. In other words, anarchists hold two beliefs: opposition to the state and opposition to exploitation. Any person who rejects either of these two positions cannot be part of the anarchist movement. In other words, an anarchist must be against capitalism in order to be a true anarchist.